What's good? How y'all doing this afternoon? Welcome back to the Don's Favorite on Forever I Love Atlanta Sports Podcast. It's your boy, the Don. I'm back. Probably, I don't know. This might be my last coach scouting for the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think I done covered enough candidates that I think that would be fit for the job, but we'll see how we do, man. But I brought on two expert writers or podcasters from the Seattle Seahawks. One of them, Brandan, how you doing? Let everybody know who you are and where they can find you.
Yeah, Brandan Schulze. I host the Field Gulls podcast as well as the Seahawkers podcast.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I got JPG. Let everybody know who you are, where they can find you.
I'm John Gilbert. I'm one of the deputy editors at Field Gulls, one of the writers there as well for several years now. So,
all right. Well, thank you guys for coming on. At first, I thought y'all was in Seattle, but I was different. But JPG down there in sunny Florida, and Brandan in mountain country. So
we got all the weather covered from the snow to the sun and the beaches.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for coming on this afternoon. But hey, if you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Also hit that like button. Share this content out with Atlanta Sports Fanatics. And hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. All right. So today I brought you guys on to talk about your offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer. All right. Now, I was never really high on Brian Schottenheimer. People can say, well, he got Russell Wilson as his quarterback, or the case may be, but past, since he's been there, like you guys' offense has been great. So just tell me a little bit about, the transition from y'all had Bevel and then y'all brought in Schottenheimer. Like just a quick, brief, explanation like how y'all think that's going for you guys. I'm gonna start with you, JPG.
I mean, it's been the transition. It was pretty stark at first because Wilson, he led the league in dropbacks in 2017. They tried to make him into a passing quarterback, and it did not work. Failed disastrously. Missed the playoffs for the only time in his career. And then the recommitment to the ground game in 2018, 2019 obviously took him to the playoffs, wild card and divisional round losses. But it was an offense that was successful, moving the ball, led the league in rushing yards, and he did what he was brought in to do for the offense.
Okay. Brandan?
Yeah, looking back to 2017, that was a really rough season for Russ, just in terms of just how he looked as a quarterback. And I know a lot of Seahawks fans weren't excited about Schottenheimer initially. I mean, he hadn't really – we'd seen him do very little, I guess, with the Jets. And, his one successful season was with Brett Favre with the Jets. And then he went and he was OC for the Rams for a little bit. So there was not any excitement with Seattle fans. But, after the last couple of years, I will say that Russell Wilson has improved inside the pocket under Brian Schottenheimer and doing some things that we didn't really see from him under Darrell Bevell.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up his record real quick. Now, what's good, Joe? So, Schottenheimer, we know that he's the son of Marty Schottenheimer. I know a lot of people can make the debate. I feel like he's a Hall of Fame coach. I know he didn't win the Super Bowl ring, but you can't ignore what Marty has done. The time he was with Cleveland, especially Kansas City, every year they went to the playoffs. They just got knocked out. And then went to San Diego. He had one stint to not San Diego. He had one stint 1 year with the Redskins, and they were 8-8. And then he went to San Diego and built them a dominant defense, and they went 14-2, and they fired the man. So, but he's a son of Martin Schottenheimer. Also, a lot of people don't remember that he played quarterback in college. He was a quarterback. He was under Danny Werfel in Florida under Steve Spurrier, who was the head coach. So a lot of people can say that, that he learned under Steve Spurrier to being a signal caller for the offense. Because, his dad was, a defensive minded coach. So, but 97, he was an assistant for the Rams. And then he joined his dad in Kansas City in 98 to be an assistant. Then he left there to Syracuse for one season, and he was a wide receivers coach there. But then he moved to USC to be the tight ends coach. And then he met up with his dad again in Washington in 2001 and was the quarterback coach. And then he left Washington alongside with his dad, and they went to San Diego, and he was their quarterbacks coach all the way to 2005. And those years when he was there, I felt like he done a lot because you had not only just Drew Brees, but you had a rookie Phillip Rivers as well that he, taught and developed a little bit. So I'm gonna get back to that topic in a minute. But he left there. He went to Eric Mangini, Jets team, and he was there in 2006. He stayed on staff when Rex Ryan got there, and he left in 2011. All right. And yeah, he had Mark Sanchez and Brett Favre and all those guys when he was there as well, too. But Mark Sanchez, we know he wasn't really that good. And he left there. He went back to St. Louis in 2012. He was there for 2 seasons. And then he went back to the college ranks, and he was here in the University of Georgia for 1 season. And I remember that season. A lot of people ran him out of the state of Georgia. But it's, it was that I remember that season. It just Mark Richt, it was his time was up in Georgia. So we got rid of everybody. Well, we didn't get rid of everybody, but he left with Mark Richt. And he went to Indianapolis in 2016. He stayed 2 seasons there, and then he got the call to join Pete Carroll and you guys in 2018 and became your offensive coordinator. So what's good, Ultra Shadow? How you doing, man? All right. So these past couple of years with you guys, y'all saying that it's looking better because I kind of see that that correlation with when we had Kyle Shanahan as our OC in 2015, and that was one of Matt Ryan's worst statistical year in the league. But then you turn around in 2016, we had the best offense in the league, and it was historic. So this is why I feel like now I think Brian Schottenheimer should be considered to be a head coach. What's you guys' take on that?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I was a little bit surprised when you reached out to talk about Brian Schottenheimer as a head coach, just because I don't know if I get the sense that he's quite ready for it. I don't know if we've seen enough out of him as an offensive coordinator to really have him be considered among the. And I guess if you go back to the first few games of the season, it looked really good for Russell Wilson and this offense, and it was clicking. And then it's kind of it's slowed down these last few weeks, and whether that's due to Schottenheimer is his ability to call plays versus Russell Wilson just tending to have some midseason struggles just in every season of his career. It doesn't seem like he's put together that full season quite yet. But in terms of developing guys, he has done that. You mentioned Drew Brees at the beginning of his career. You talk about Mark Sanchez, his ability to coach him up and get the best years out of his career with the Jets. Sam Bradford probably had a couple of his best seasons with when he was with the Rams. So I do think he has that ability to develop. It's just, once you're elevating him now from offensive coordinator to a head coach position, I don't know if you're really looking at that unless you're looking for an OC to also call plays. And, you got the veteran quarterback and Matt Ryan, who probably doesn't need a whole lot of development at this point, depending on what the Falcons decide to do with him after this year.
Yeah, but, we'll talk about that in a minute. But,
but I do think that he has, he may be a better head coach ultimately than he is as a coordinator.
Okay. JPG?
I would actually, that's exactly what I was going to say. He's one of the things that he did was he came in and he wasn't walking on eggshells. As the son of a head coach, he didn't come in and was worried about upsetting Russell Wilson. He wasn't worried about, bad mouthing him in front of the team. We have reports from players who said, from retired Doug Baldwin, who came in and said, first summer he's there, training camp, Brian Schottenheimer's lighting up Russell Wilson for making the offensive line look bad and for not filling his role in doing what he needs to do. So I think he's definitely got the ability to go in and he's got the football smarts. He's played in enough different, not played, but was in enough different systems. I mean, he was in a run-based system at the University of Kansas as a freshman. He went to Florida, was there for 4 years after transferring under Steve Spurrier, like you mentioned, and then he's been through, with his time with the Rams and the Chiefs in the 90s, under Paul Hackett at USC in 2000. He's been in enough different systems. He's been exposed to enough. He's been around enough people. He's not going to go in and be starstruck or overwhelmed as a head coach. And I think, ultimately, if he had the right people as coordinators, he may be a better leader than he is offensive coordinator, if that makes sense. He certainly has the ability to develop quarterbacks. He's, the change in Russell Wilson's pocket mechanics, his technique. If you watch 2017 film and then you watch 2020 film, it's night and day different. And he's absolutely fantastic at the little things like that. And I don't know how much of his offense is him doing what Pete Carroll wants versus what Rex Ryan or Jeff Fisher or Eric Mangini wanted, and he's obviously good enough to, as an offensive coordinator with Russell Wilson at quarterback, to put points on the board and to, take the team to the playoffs each season. But I think at the end of the day, just like Brandan said, he may be a better head coach than he is offensive coordinator.
All right, and here's my thing though, because I found this very interesting. Now, everywhere he was either a quarterback's coach or offensive coordinator outside of Georgia, because we know Myron Rick, he was offensive minded coach. He served under defensive minded head coaches. You go all the way back to his dad, then Eric Mangini, Rex Ryan, Jeff Fisher, now Pete Carroll. Like, these are all defensive minded head coaches. And most of the time when you have a defensive minded head coach, they're gonna bring in an offensive minded or a good, to their knowledge, the OC who they can trust. And they can be lenient on them and just say, hey, I'm doing the defense right here. All right. I'm trying to focus on defense. I trust you enough to call the offense to put points up on the board.
Yeah. And we do see kind of a consistent philosophy just during his times with the different coaches. He's with coaches. They want to run the football well. They want to lean on the passing game when they need to. But I think Pete even has a little bit different philosophy that we've seen now with multiple offensive coordinators, that, not only does he want to run the ball, but he wants to make the big plays downfield and take some deep shots. And so it kind of fits in a little bit with everything that with what Schottenheimer likes to do too. So he has this philosophy of, wanting to have, and I think this came from Schottenheimer, and you can correct me on this, John, if it came from somewhere else, but I think it has something to do with the philosophy of Marty. They have this number 53 in mind, that it's the number of completions and the number of times that you run the ball. And generally, if you get to kind of that number, then you're going to see an offense with success. So it is definitely a more balanced approach that he's looking to take with the run game. And I think that's something that the Falcons had when Shanahan was running.
We did. We don't have that now with Dirk. Dirk Cutter, man, does not want to run the ball at all. And we see our offense right now is so one-dimensional. It's so, like, elementary. Like, they know we're going to try to throw deep shots down the field. That's Dirk Cutter's offense through and through. And I've been saying this, like, Matt Ryan is not the issue with offense. It's the play call. It's the coaching. I don't want to get off topic right here, but we just fired Dan Quinn, and y'all very familiar with Dan Quinn. He was there 2 seasons with you guys, helped y'all won a Super Bowl, then y'all went back to a Super Bowl or whatever the case may be. But I've tried to tell people about the hire of Dan Quinn. To me, I feel like he was not proven. If y'all disagree with me, chime in.
No, he was unproven as a head coach, and I think just you go to the pedigree of Schottenheimer and with his dad being a head coach. Yeah, like John was saying earlier, the job wouldn't be too big for him. Whereas with Dan Quinn, you weren't quite sure. You knew that you were at least getting some of that, Pete Carroll coaching tree, which, it hasn't worked out all that well for him. But I think because Gus Bradley, we saw him go down to Jacksonville. And have not too much success either. So,
but we know that Pete Carroll is a defensive minded guy, and like Pete Carroll hadn't had good defenses since I've been saying this since he was a college coach at USC. That's what I said. That look at how, like you just said, look how Gus Bradley and Dan Quinn did, and you still look at Pete Carroll. Right, when those guys left, did y'all fall off? Yeah, y'all had a season, y'all didn't make the playoffs in 2017, but y'all still had a winning record. We just owned a tiebreaker over you guys because I remember we beat y'all that season. But I'm not trying to throw salt on the wound, but y'all going. But look, y'all in the playoffs and we not right now. So hey, it is what it is, But like I said, it just Dan Quinn was never a proven guy. And look, Schottenheimer, I like the guy. He's not top of my list, but I really feel like, the Falcons should interview this guy just based off what he has done. Yes, I know there's years that he didn't produce a good top 10 or average offense, but you can see the leadership in him. You can see that he actually called a balance. He has a balanced play calling. We don't have that here in Atlanta with Dirk Cutter. So, I'm all defense. I want Don Martindale as our next head coach. So, but that's what I'm going back, just pretty much telling people, like, you see how proven this guy is. Now, I know,
and I think what you're getting at too is the thing is, when you're looking for a new head coach, a lot of fans are looking for somebody who's going to come in and kind of excite the fan base. Yeah. And Brian Schottenheimer is not a guy who is going to do that. He's not an exciting head coach possibility. I think he might be a safe choice, and he might be a guy that, if you get the right coordinator with him on the defensive side and, you're making good team moves, he could be a good coach. It's just not exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's any of the guys I've done as far as the coach scouting, a lot of people said no. I said Don Martindale, no. I said Todd Bowles, no. Dennis Allen, no. Rex Ryan, hell no. Like but that's the issue. The Falcons have been for the most part been horrible on defense. And I brought up Brian Dable, the offense coordinator for Buffalo. Good. I think he's a good person, but everybody here wants Eric Bieniemy.
Right.
And I feel like Eric Bieniemy, he's very similar to a Dan Quinn. You don't know what you get out of this guy because we know Andy Reid's calling the plays out there in Kansas City. Why bring this man in? You don't know. You don't know. He's not been. He hasn't been. I don't think he's been tested enough to really call his offense on his own without an Andy Reid.
Well, and the thing I would add with Bieniemy is that it's, Dirk Cutter runs the Air Coryell system. That's what Schottenheimer has run basically his entire career as an offensive coordinator. So it would be less of a systemic change. And with the one thing that, that Schottenheimer does really well, you talked about balance earlier, is his run game is very diverse. I mean, he's got the everything that they ran with the Chiefs in the 90s with, when Marty was there, when they had, Barry Word and Christian Okoye, all the way up through, what they did in San Diego with LaDainian, what he did with the Jets. He has always had, the ability to put together a fantastic run game. And he's got, even the influences. He didn't spend but a single season in Georgia, but he, one of the things he did was when he got to Seattle, he brought in Steve Shimko, who was he was a graduate assistant at Georgia, but Shimko went to Garden City Community College and spent 2 years working under Jeff Sims, who is a national championship college coach who has a very, very diverse run game. I mean, he makes Pete Carroll look like he's running the run and shoot in terms of how many times they would throw the ball a game. Yeah. And he was OC of that. They won the national title, and you could see, a whole lot of influence in the Seattle, some of the wrinkles in the Seattle run game over the past couple of years have come from the Jeff Sims run game, and he's got a very diverse running game playbook. So it's kind of the thing, if you're looking for systemic continuity with with some new wrinkles added in to get that balance, then that's definitely, he might be that correct choice versus Bieniemy, who runs Andy Reid's West Coast offense, which they're not all that different, but it's still going to be a new system, new reads, and a learning curve for Matt Ryan and his receivers, which may not be there if Schottenheimer were the choice. So
you pretty much saying that if you was the owner of the Atlanta Falcons and you see how we run our offense, you'll hire Brian over Eric Bieniemy.
I mean, I would at least look into both of them. I'm not saying I would make that choice, but I'm not saying, I'm not going to say, okay, you know what, Bieniemy took his offense to the Super Bowl last year, won Lombardi, because I think this is the first season where we've really seen Schottenheimer be unleashed a little bit in terms of giving the freedom to do more than just run the ball all the time, basically. Because it was, 2018 and 2019 with, Russell Wilson was turning around and handing the ball off on first and second down and then bailing the offense out on third down, whereas the Chiefs are coming out and, Bieniemy's offense has, points all over the board because they're throwing the ball regularly, early and often. And it's, it's just going to depend on what you want. Do you want a system that's going to maximize however much of Matt Ryan you have left, or are you looking for, and like you mentioned, got to make a decision on Matt Ryan going forward. Okay, well, let's sit down. Schottenheimer does have a proven track record of helping develop quarterbacks. Like Brandon said, even Mark Sanchez, as bad as he is, his two best seasons were under Schottenheimer. And there's no doubt about that. And so, if the long-term solution is not Matt Ryan, and if the change is going to be made at some point, then you at least have to consider Schottenheimer because of his work developing quarterbacks versus in Kansas City. Bieniemy, sure, I'm sure he had some input with Mahomes and with the development, but Andy Reid has always been a quarterback guy. He's always been that guy to develop quarterbacks everywhere he's been. So it's not, we're nothing against Bieniemy, but Andy Reid's going to get the majority of that credit.
And that's the thing. I'm all for keeping Matt Ryan and you maximize what he can do. Like, Matt Ryan is still an elite quarterback. I don't care what anybody say. All right. Like, if you look at how go back to 2018 when we had Sark, the man matched the same amount of stats that he had in 2016 when he had Kyle Shanahan here. All right. It just Dirt. I'm just tired of talking about Dirt, man. He came here and just ran this offense to the ground. He doesn't know how to utilize his players. There's no creativity, none of that. This is why I've said that Brian Schottenheimer, I feel like I've seen what you guys done up there. Yes, y'all had Russell Wilson, but guess what? Y'all also the play calling just makes sense, especially when y'all played us the first game of the season and y'all came down and y'all was scoring often, like in that game. And I'm like, yeah, the play calling here is just y'all was very creative, and throughout the season, y'all still kept that continuity of the play calling as well. But as far as Eric Bieniemy goes, like I don't know what he can do. Like we seen Doug Peterson leave Andy Reid and went to Philadelphia and won a Super Bowl. Okay, cool. But here's the thing. What are they doing lately? Because this is a what have you done for me lately league. It doesn't matter what happened 3 years ago. All right. And then on top of that, Philly would just like some teams just hit lightning in the bottle just like that and then just keep it moving. But with you look at the other person who came under Andy Reid, Matt Nagy. Yeah. Enough said. I'm not going to get into Matt Nagy, and then you go back to what's the other guy name? Back when he was in Brad Childress, he was the head coach of the Vikings. Yeah, they had some good success there, but it wasn't really that good though. You had Adrian Peterson, you had Agent Brett Favre. That 2009 season. Yeah, they lost against the Saints in that NFC Championship game. But one question somebody brought up, Joe. He said that how you feel about Wade Phillips running the defense. I'm all for it. I said this. If we bring an offensive-minded head coach and you bring in Wade Phillips as a DC, you know your defense is going to be in good hands with Wade Phillips. So I would like that. I would like that move because I don't know another person out there who you could just bring into this situation to fix this Atlanta Falcons defense the way it is.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that, whether it's an offensive-minded head coach or a defensive-minded head coach. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm watching some of these defenses every week, and I'm, Greg Williams for the Jets last week is a perfect example. I'm sitting here watching these defenses play, and I'm like, how is Wade Phillips unemployed? How is, this does not make sense to me. Wade Phillips is a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator, and he is one of the best in the game, and does not have a job right now. It just does not make sense to me.
Yeah, it makes no sense. And it leads me to the question of, have you guys covered Brandon Staley at all with the Rams defense?
Oh, yes. I covered Brandon Staley. That was I think one of my first videos I did this year because I did Don Martindale last year. Brandon Staley, he's a young guy, very smart, analytical, defensive-minded head coach, defensive-minded coach. He's out there with the Rams right now, and the Rams defense, it don't look significantly better than what Wade Phillips left it, but it's still good.
Right.
That
was one of the things that kind of surprised me, just as a Seahawks fan going into the season. I thought getting rid of Wade Phillips, that you weren't going to be able to improve upon that, and he has done that. So that's I think why Staley's getting a lot of looks now going into this offseason, probably potentially being a head coach.
Yeah, he was a linebackers coach on the Vic Fangio in Chicago, and then he went to Denver for that one season. He was a defensive coordinator. I think he was a linebackers coach there, and then he left there to go to he's in Los Angeles right now with the Rams.
Right.
So yeah, but Brandon Staley was another person that I consider to be interviewed as well. I feel like he might get a shot. If not this year, definitely next year.
Absolutely.
No, especially if they keep playing the way they've been playing.
Exactly. That defense looks and then they lost players we got Dante Fowler now, and Dante Fowler did a doggone thing. So
yeah, it's weird when you don't have Aaron Donald on the line with you.
We've been trying to tell people this, man, when we brought this man in, and they said, "Well, we got Grady Jerry." I'm okay. Grady Jerry's good. He's a very good defensive tackle, but at the same time, you can't compare this man to Aaron
Nobody's Aaron Donald.
Exactly. So, all right. So, just looking at his record when he was the OC back in 2006 with the Jets, and the offense there was ranked 12th, and then 2007, 22nd, 2008, 18th, 2009, 22nd, and that was the year that Rex Ryan came in, and they had the number one defense in the league. If the offense would just played a little bit better, who would have known the Jets would have been in the Super Bowl. 2010, the offense got better though. They went from 22nd to 15th, and then they took a slump in 2011, 21st, and that was his last year there. So it was a lot of inconsistencies with the New York organization when he was there. Then he went to St. Louis. They was ranked 19th, 2013, 22nd, 2014, 25th. That was just a bad Rams team overall under Jeff Fisher.
Right.
And then he was there at Georgia. Our offense was ranked 67th in the country in that 2015 campaign. And then he went to Indianapolis, ranked 12th in 2016. 2017, we ranked 30th. The Colts was ranked 30th. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was the year Luck went down, right?
Yeah, that was the year Luck went down, and Pagano got fired along with everybody else there. So, but ever since he's been to Seattle, though, let's look at this. Y'all was ranked 8th, and I'm going off Football Outsiders ranks. Okay. So I don't use other people's rankings. Seattle, y'all was ranked 8th in 2018, 2019, 5th, and currently y'all ranked 5th.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is having Russell Wilson, obviously. His other top-ranked season, I think, in his career is when he had Brett Favre. So I think that when you have a good quarterback, obviously, it's going to help. And he just hasn't had a lot of good quarterbacks when he's been in the offensive coordinator positions. So that it's going to impact it. But I keep going back, and I guess one thing for Falcons fans to look at, if you really want to look at the difference that Brian Schottenheimer's brought to this offense, you can go back and watch that 2017 Falcons game against the Seahawks. It was a high scoring game. It was a fun game to watch. But if you, and I say this without, having actually watched this game recently, but I just know, looking at the 2017 season with the Seahawks, I mean, you had Doug Baldwin for the Seahawks still. You had Tyler Lockett on the offense. Chris Carson was injured in that game, so they had kind of shifted away from running the ball. And I remember most about that 2017 season was when Russell Wilson dropped back. If he didn't have a throw there, he was scrambling. We called them scribble plays because he would just kind of run around in loops behind the offensive line. And then now go and watch week 1 with the Falcons and Seahawks from 2020, and Russell Wilson standing in the pocket. He's moving up in the pocket. He's shifting, making smaller movements within the pocket to find the throwing lanes. And it's just night and day when you look from his play in 2017 versus the start of the season in 2020.
Exactly.
No, I agree. And even, that 2017 Atlanta game is actually, there's a perfect example of, he started off the game poorly. It was an interception that led to an Atlanta touchdown. And then they got the ball, I believe it was late in the first, early in the second. And he goes back, and it's a quick timing route that was supposed to be he should have delivered the ball to Paul Richardson. But because of his poor pocket mechanics, he was instead of being, squared the way he should have been, he's right to the line. He baseball hops away from the pressure coming from his right side. And so he's not lined up. He can't throw the ball to his left like he needs to be able to deliver the pass to Richardson, who's, in an open spot in the zone. And so instead of it being a 12 or a 15-yard completion over the middle, it's a strip sack, ball out, touchdown Falcons, and it's a play. You look at it and you say, man, those are that's the worst pocket mechanics you can possibly have. It looks like a high school quarterback who's never played before. And then now you watch him in 2020, and he's, he drops back. He's got rhythm in his drop back. His mechanics are good. They're there. Just like Brandon said, the difference is night and day. And
that's thanks to Brian Schottenheimer, because the
absolutely.
way he did, because he's a quarterback's coach by trade.
Yep, right.
Like you said, like Matt Ryan in his career, he doesn't need, to teach the mechanics of how to be a quarterback. What he just needs is the right plays to pretty much do something with. And like I said, going back to Matt Ryan, and a lot of this fan base saying, well, we need to just move on from Matt Ryan. All right. What do you guys think on
that? Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I think he's probably still got some years left in him. And I think as long as Matt Ryan has Julio is what well,
they want to get rid of Julio too. They want to get rid of both of them. Because Julio's been hurt this season. Okay, I get it. But you still got Calvin Ridley. We got Hayden Hurst now. You have Russell Gage, Alonde Zaccheaus, Christian Blake. You have weapons. You have a good receiving core.
Yeah, I don't think I would be quite so ready to move on. I know there's a lot of people who are just, so ready to tear it all down just to build it back up. And I think you have to look around the division, though, and really look at who you have. You know that Tom Brady, he's maybe got one more year left if he's going to continue to play with Tampa next year. Drew Brees is going to be, this is probably his last season. So, and I don't know if, I guess as long as they continue to have a solid defense in New Orleans, they're going to be competitive with their quarterback situation. But and then you have Carolina with a relatively young coach. I think if I were an Atlanta fan, I would want to keep Julio and Matt Ryan together for at least 2 more years, just because of the outlook in the rest of the South right now.
Exactly. What about you, JPG?
Yeah, and quarterback is the hardest position to find, and if you've, is Matt Ryan, the best quarterback in the history of the game? No, he's not Peyton Manning. He's not Tom Brady. But what alternative are you going to put out there? Now drafting someone, day 2, early day 3, to develop them behind Ryan, fine. But, I don't care who you put out there. You put them out there, odds are 75-80% that they're going to be,
A downgrade.
Worst, not even, they may not even be NFL caliber, even if you've got a high pick, we see it all the time. I mean, how many in the past 10 years? I mean, yeah, sure, everybody would love to wind up with, the Deshaun Watson or the Patrick Mahomes, but,
and even those guys were top 10, top 15. I mean, if you're picking outside of the top 15, the chances of finding a quarterback, it's really unlikely. Lamar Jackson, there's only so many times a guy like that falls to the end of the first round.
And Lamar Jackson right now struggling in Baltimore.
Right. Yeah.
And you might you just as likely to end up with Mitch Trubisky. I mean, it's
he went second overall. He went second overall.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's you can have great scouting, you can have great evaluation, but you just don't know what's going to happen when when they step on the field in the NFL, and it's yeah. But like I said, Matt Ryan, he put up fantastic numbers in 2016. He is getting up there into his late 30s now, mid to late 30s, whatever you want to call it. But it's Matt Ryan versus possibility of Mitch Trubisky. I'm going to stick with Ryan for at least a couple more seasons till the wheels fall off.
Thank you. Because it's people in this fan base. Oh man, we need to draft Justin Fields. Oh, we need to draft Trey Lance. You don't know if these guys are gonna come in and transition and be good quarterbacks in this league. You don't know. I see a lot of issues with Justin Fields. Can't read the defense. That's a big red flag to me. And then first off, you don't know who our GM, who our head coach is gonna be. So we may end up getting a staff in here who can't develop quarterbacks, and you talking about just drafting a quarterback, just throwing him out there like that? No.
I mean, you draft Jared Goff overall. If you don't have Sean McVay, you're kind of up a creek,
Exactly. You don't know. Like I said, people, you don't know if these players are going to end up developing well. Like by the grace of God, Pat Mahomes fell into a great situation with Andy Reid. If he went somewhere else, who knows what could have happened with Pat Mahomes?
Yeah, I don't know if he has the similar kind of success because of the way Reid's been able to develop quarterbacks, and because Mahomes was kind of a turnover machine, a Brett Favre style quarterback, where and Andy Reid has been able to coach that out of him, which has been incredible.
And then you look at what's happened to Andy Reid's quarterbacks when they go somewhere else. I mean, I was a big Donovan McNabb fan the whole time. Andy Reid was in Philly, and then he went to Washington. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be great. I'm telling all my Washington fan friends, they're like, oh yeah, we finally have a real quarterback. And then I watched and he's out on the field that year. I'm like, is this the same guy? Like, what is going on? And it's that Andy Reid magic, Andy Reid offense,
And that's what Joe just said. He said, if you're going to draft a quarterback, he's going to sit behind Ryan for 3 years. Yeah. So you want to draft somebody in the first round that's going to get paid like double-digit $1 million.
Guaranteed.
Just sit on the bench. Guaranteed. Just sit on the bench. We have bigger problems right now on our team outside of Matt. Matt Ryan is not the problem. He is far from the problem. So, that's something I just wanted to ask you guys, because a lot of people sitting up here saying that it's time to move on. No, it's not time to move on. The problem with this team has always been coaching. If we get the right coaching in here, get the right talent evaluator and GM in here, I think the Falcons will be fine. We'll turn the fortune. All right. So, enough of that. So, when we fired Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, and Arthur Blank, he pretty much said that he want a leader among men, all right, to come in to be the head coach. All right. Do you see that characteristic in Brian Schottenheimer, leader among men? I'm going to start with you, Brandan.
Yeah, I think so. And I think John was kind of talking to this earlier on when coming into the Seattle job, having Russell Wilson, I could see a lot of leadership, a lot of strong personalities on the team, and he came in and he wasn't overwhelmed by it, and he's done a relatively good job. I do feel like of the guys who are out there, he would be a safe choice in that regard. There's not a lot of unknowns when it comes to his ability to lead guys, and so I think that would put him. It would score him well in that category.
Yeah. All right. What about you, JPG?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think it's, he may not be that natural charismatic style that, instantly wins everyone over, but he has the personality. He makes, he gets along well enough with everyone, and he's the type that he's got the knowledge, he's got the experience, he's got the connections, and he grew up having famous people in his living room. He's not going to be overwhelmed. He helped develop Drew Brees. He was there with Andrew Luck. He's worked with these top overall picks before. He's not someone who's shy or going to be afraid to step on some toes. He is who he is. He's going to come in. He's going to be himself, and that's the kind of leader that you can get people excited, you can get people amped up, but it's the person who's going to come in every day, do their job from morning to night. When that person you see leading by example, who at the end of the day is just as effective as someone who gets people excited and amped up. So
exactly, and that's what we need, man. Like Dan Quinn was not that. He did not fit that mold at all. He was a huge players coach. He never held anybody accountable for their mistakes. We kept trying trash on the field that made it was mind boggling for me, man. He trusted his players too much, and he had a long leash with them. He didn't have that short leash like some coaches do. You mess up, well, I give you one time to mess up. That's it. He didn't have that philosophy. All right, so we talked about his philosophy of coaching. The next thing, can he come in and turn the tide for the Atlanta Falcons?
I would say, based on the trajectory where Atlanta's been going, that he can at least get this team to a winning record, and possibly. I can't tell you that he's going to get into the playoffs and be able to make a run. I don't know if he's that kind of coach, because he does have his issues with getting play calls in, and you see a lot of times this year where Russell's taking him all the way down to zero on the play clock before they're snapping the ball. The tempo of the offense can be an issue, and I think it's when you get to those types of things that in the playoffs that can be ultimately what ends your season. So I think that if you're looking for a guy that's going to come in and take the Falcons to a Super Bowl like right away, I don't know if he's that guy, but a guy to turn around an organization, I think he could do that.
Yeah, I feel like he's that person too. What about you? What's good, Wallace?
I'm in the same boat. He doesn't strike me as the guy that you come at. You don't hire him and expect the instant turnaround. You're not looking for the worst to first or whatever, to come in and light things on fire. But he's the type of coach who's going to come in. He's going to be steady, just like his dad was in Kansas City. There's going to be an identity. There's going to be a system. There's going to be a style. And it's, the Falcons have been to the playoffs twice in the last 8 seasons. So it's,
yeah, it's not good.
And everywhere. We make fun of Schottenheimer and his offense for being basic, but it's, he went to the playoffs with the Jets. He went to the playoffs, with Seattle almost every season. In San Diego when he was OC there, or not OC, excuse me, quarterbacks coach under Cam Cameron. They were consistently competitive. The places he has been, he's seen, what it takes to win. It's not, he knows what it takes to win. He's been on the teams he's been with have consistently been, competitive. Yeah, sure. He spent some time with the Rams, but that's, I'll chalk that up to some 7-9 Jeff Fisher, bull. So, I think he'd bring in a winning culture, and as long as, I wouldn't expect him to handle play calling duties. I wouldn't expect him to handle defensive duties. He'd hand those off, find his people, put those, put his people in place. And the guy he took, like I said, that he brought in from his time at Georgia, Steve Shimko, he's head of recruiting and the tight ends coach at Boston College now. So it's not, the people when Schotty's made those picks, when he's called on his Rolodex to find people, he's the people he knows, the people he's got there. He's got good people that he can call on. So.
All right, so that'd be another person he probably bring up his OC if he gets the job here or anywhere else. And that's the thing. I think Brian will be a good coach. He just, he can't micromanage. I just feel like just be a head coach, bring in some good coordinators and have them do the job. I was thinking, on the lines of offensive coordinator, bringing in a guy like Dino Babers from Syracuse. I think he'd be a good offensive minded OC. Well, he is offensive minded, but bring him in as an OC. He's very good. I like the offensive style they run up there at Syracuse. I feel like NFL has it like most teams probably won't catch on to it right then and there. That may be a choice right there, a possibility. So, All right. Well, I guess that's pretty much everything. Joe, you said we need a safety or another solid corner. Look, those picks won't be bad at all. I feel like safety is a need. Corner is a kind of a want. We still got young corners, man, that need to develop. I feel like you bringing the right coach those guys up. We may get something out of those guys. We do need a pass. We need some edges. We need some edges bad. Joe, I know and we said we ranked 30th in pass defense. That's horrible, and that's due to lack of pass rush too.
I mean, a good safety play helps corners and edge rushers. So, it's one of those things where that's something as Seattle fans we've gotten to experience over the past few years. Is we had Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor, and then they both were gone, and things got ugly. And now with Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs in the picture, it's certainly made a difference at the other positions. So
exactly, yeah, and that's the thing. We got Keanu Neal, and that's it. Ricardo Allen
just stay healthy.
Yeah, you gotta stay healthy. That's the thing. And pass rush, we don't have it. Like I would choose a pass rusher in the first round. That's just me. Unless it's a safety that's there, and I know who's NFL ready, we can bring out there who I know who won't have a huge learning curve. So that's just my take on that. But appreciate you guys coming on. Y'all go ahead and plug your information. I'm gonna start with Brandon.
Yeah. Appreciate you bringing us on. And if people want to check out the Seahawkers podcast, seahawkerspodcast.com or sbnation.com/NFL podcast to get the Field Gulls or any of the SB Nation podcasts.
I appreciate you for having you on. JPG.
Yep, John P. Gilbert here. You can follow me on Twitter at John P. Gilbert NFL, or to read our work over at fieldgulls.com.
All right. Well, thank y'all guys for coming on. Everybody who watched this today live, appreciate y'all joining us. I know the Georgia and Mizzou game on. I know everybody cussing them out right now because they're not looking good right now. But hey, it is what it is. If you're watching this at a later time, hit me up in the comment section. Let us know what you think about Brian Schottenheimer. Do you think we should interview him? Do you think he's the right person for the job? Should we hire him? Do you think we just need to stay away from this guy? No more Seattle guys, or what happened with Dan Quinn? Or y'all just still stuck on Eric Bieniemy? Just tell me. Look, whatever y'all think, just tell me. Okay. I will be back tomorrow. King's Rim. He will be live tonight to talk about I guess the Hawks game last night. So stay tuned for that tonight. We will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. The Falcons doesn't play till about 4:30 tomorrow. So we will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. We're going to bring on Rachel Vanch from the Picks Wise podcast. She will be joining us, and we're going to talk about can we be optimistic for next season. So stay tuned for that as well. So, hey, if you're new to the channel, you already know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Also hit that like button. Share this content out, other than sports fanatics. And hit us up in the comment section. As always, come holler at your hometown sports podcast. It's your boy, The Don, with another episode of The Don's Favor. Y'all have a great Saturday. Be easy. Stay safe. Don't forget to wear your mask. I'm out.